Lynn here for Green15. I'm really happy to be with you guys today because I have a really special guest. Her name is Connie Lim of Milck Music. I hope I'm saying that right. And one reason that I'm so excited to have her here is that back in 2017, she had the #1 protest song as said by Billboard. Connie Lim, how are you doing? The song was Quiet, I Can't Keep Quiet. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Gwen. I am just really excited to talk to you today about all the things.
Absolutely. And let's try and get first a few of the pink elephants out of the room. I made this thing in high school and I use it all the time. How are you doing with COVID? Obviously, you're staying safe. And how are you doing with this second movement that we're having, the All Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter?
I thank you for asking. With the COVID, I have been, a lot of us have been seeing how the marginalized get more deeply impacted by this. So it just increases the urgency of being better citizens and being more aware of what our actions actually imply. And the second movement of Black Lives Matter has felt like I have a lot to learn, and it's been very difficult and very beautiful in many ways. I feel like I'm learning how to be a listener and how to hold that the pain that our country still holds. And yeah, I think a lot of it too is my main concern is how do we sustain action as the emotional peak then starts to fade, because inevitably with all media stories and stuff, the media kind of changes focus. So I've been kind of assessing how can I implement into my lifestyle daily practices that help to fight the structures that be. And so it's brought me closer with my friends, because we actually talk about this and what do we want to do? How can we change? And so there's good things to this movement. I see a lot of beautiful things and amongst a lot of painful things. So just learning so much. How about you?
Well, basically the same. I mean, we've talked about this a little bit offline. My mom has been telling me a lot about it, and it's amazing. I wish my dad was here to see this, but I think up in heaven, hopefully he is, you know what I mean? Because I think it's going to be just a beautiful awakening for everybody. And as long as everyone gets used to, we're all Americans. You're American, you're Asian American, I'm African American, but we are Americans.
Yes.
And that was going to be my next question. I think I know the answer, but there's some out there that may not know the answer. Environmental justice and social justice, although different, they go hand in hand. However, as an Asian American, have you ever, or do you understand the whole idea about oppression? Have you ever felt it?
Yeah. So in terms of feeling oppression as an Asian American, I think the specific form of oppression for an Asian American is the fact that a lot of us, I won't speak for all of us, but a lot of us have had to erase a lot of our heritage in order to survive and assimilate. I think with a lot of the Black American culture, from my perspective, you could correct me if I'm wrong, is that I feel like a lot of African Americans did not choose to be here, whereas with Chinese,
we didn't. Tell you now. Go ahead.
Yeah. And then for Asian Americans, my parents moved here from Hong Kong, and they chose to come, and they wanted to participate in the system that they saw, which was, this more white dominant structure. And so they were like, in order to succeed, you have to do A, B, and C. And one of them is assimilation. So I've been having a lot of conversations with my fellow Asian friends, and I feel like our activism is multi-pronged, as all of us are. But for us specifically, I realized we have to, combat our own fear of speaking up, because there's a lot of pressure in our culture to be right, to be an expert, and to be the best at something. And so we have to combat that and be willing to be making mistakes and to speak out, even though in our culture it's considered more polite and more pious to like obey the elders. So one is breaking our own molds. The two is then relearning our history. Like a lot of my Asian friends don't know where like their heritage, because we spent so much time trying to just be the best in this culture. So a lot of us are kind of like, I don't know who I am, you know. There's that type of perspective. And then it's learning Black history and learning how it has directly affected us. Like the Immigration Act, like you know, I posted about that and you commented on my Instagram. You were telling me like Martin Luther King especially decided to not specify just Black people because he wanted to open and allow other people of color to have rights. I didn't learn that. I did not learn that. And I feel like my South Asian friend Ari and I were talking like, man, we should have that be a part of the immigration test, right?
Yeah.
If we immigrate to this country, we need to know why we're able to and who fought for that, right? Because then like we would walk around this country and be like, wow, thank you. You know, like there'd be another sense of depth. But in terms of oppression, I think I was exoticized, and maybe this is just in an intersection of also being a woman, right? But being an Asian woman, I think there's an expectation from outside cultures that don't quite understand is that we are demure, we are these like traditionally like smaller sized women that obey and are, a lot of us can be beautiful. There's like the long Black hair, that whole expectation. So if we don't fit into that, we just feel like we're wrong or something. And that might be oppression from internally in our culture. And then also there might be an external expectation from the outside based off of what the media has told people what Asian people are like.
Okay.
And yeah, there's a lot to unpack. I will say it's like the expectation for us to be model minorities, you know, that, and for Asians to, you know, follow the rules well. And that's been a form of oppression, but also an advantage. It's been a privilege, and a lot of us have hid behind it.
Well, that was my next question. Was it the Women's March in DC or New York that you met Yoko Ono?
New York.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about that, and hopefully we can flash a picture of you on stage with her. What was that like?
I never get starstruck, but because Yoko Ono is one of the first women that I had ever been exposed to in my life in American media who was speaking out for peace, and who was speaking out with such power, I started crying. And so I saw her maybe 2 minutes before we were supposed to go on stage. So I basically sang while she sat next to me holding her famous sign, Imagine Peace. And so when she's pretty frail now, like physically, spirit-wise, she's so powerful, but she had a couple people kind of helping her on stage. And I saw her profile come on stage, and I was like, oh no, I have to sing, but I'm crying. You know, when we cry, like our throats tighten and everything. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to sound good, but I just can't help it. It just started happening. After I sang and we were walking off stage, she held my arm and she looked at me. We made direct eye contact, and she said, "You are beautiful. You must keep singing for peace. Remember, peace is power." And that's what she's saying all the time. Like, I admire her consistence. Like, it's not even consistent. It's a persistent insistence of peace and how it is a powerful force. Because she was the one that taught me that inner peace begets outer peace. And that is one of the main cruxes that I work off of. Like, why I do what I do is because the more peaceful I can be with myself and my traumas and my pains, the better I can love others and my environment, and act out of love rather than scarcity. And that's what, you know, we're talking about environmental justice. I feel like when we act out of scarcity, we harm Mother Nature, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's so many things that, you know, we can learn. And whenever I talk to people, I say, you know, that's why I try to keep it simple. You try and keep it simple with the impact to the earth. We all can't afford Teslas. We all need to drive, but maybe just that one day walk to the store knowing you're saving a little gas and saving a little carbon monoxide. It all starts with those little itty bitty steps. I also wanted to ask you about touring. That's how I first met you, when I saw you live in New York City. Do you miss it? Do you know when you're going to get to go back? What do you think is going to happen?
I definitely miss touring. I think performing in a room with people in the room rather than a Zoom or a StreamYard. There's something about reading each other's energies. We're such intelligent beings, and I can feel people's energies. And after a song, I can reflect, and I'll change my song list according to the energy of the crowd. So Zoom, like doing live streams, is harder. I think that our whole industry is still trying to figure out how this is going to look like. For huge artists like that usually sell stadiums. There has been talk like they expect when they start selling tickets, they'll maybe sell to a 1/3 to a half of what they usually sell.
Really?
They'll have to do a lot of social distancing. We're just not sure what it's going to look like. So it's very uncertain. That has been scary for me. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, what else can I do? And right now I'm just learning and observing the world. And I'm hoping that soon the songs will come out. And so I can focus on just creating in the studio. Yeah, but it's definitely such a powerful thing to get together and make a concert happen together. Because it's like a co-creation. The musician is there, the audience is there, and we make a moment happen, and then we disperse, and it's like magic, because after we all leave, it's as if nothing ever happened, but it's all in our hearts. You know?
Absolutely. In our hearts, in our head, and hopefully we can enact upon it. Now, it's a silly question. I know you've been asked it a zillion times, but what does Milck Music mean?
Oh yeah, so Milck is my last name backwards and my first two initials. So Connie Kimberly Lim. So my first two initials are CK, and those are the last two words in Milck. And then Lim, if I spell it backwards, is MIL. So I took my last name and my first two initials, scrambled it up, made it into Milck. There's two reasons why I love this. One is that it's a symbolic move for me to create a new culture, which is both American and both Asian. And I'm moving forward to create something new, but I'm not abandoning the DNA and the heritage of my ancestors. I'm bringing it with me. I'm just kind of mixing it up.
You bet.
And yeah, and we've talked a little bit about like our ancestors and your father and stuff. Like they're so important to making us who we are. And also it's what females provide to nourish the next generation. And I want my music to be that. I want people to listen to the music and feel stronger about their own lives, or feel nourished.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just to feel nourished and supported.
We definitely do. We definitely do. That's why I chased you down so hard to do this podcast. We're almost out of time, but before I let you go, where can people reach you on Instagram, on your social media?
They can reach me at Milck Music, MILCK Music.
Absolutely. And I cannot let you go without you doing at least a few bars of quiet. Would you please?
Yes. It'd be my honor. Thanks for having me too, Glenn. Like I have really loved meeting you through the years, and I want to learn more about you and your story. And
Absolutely. Anytime. You know, I'm an environmental scientist. This is what I do. And like I said, this and social justice go hand in hand. So we can do our 2 fists up. And whenever you're ready to go.
Okay.
Let us hear
it. Put on your face. Know your place. Shut up and smile. Don't spread your legs. I could do that. But no one knows me, no one ever will. If I don't say something, if I just lie still, would I be a monster, scare them all away? If I let them hear what I have to say, I can't keep quiet. No, I can't keep quiet. No, a one woman riot. Oh, I can't keep quiet. Yeah, let's bring the tambourine. Let it out, let it out, let it out now. There'll be someone who understands. Let it out, let it out, let it out now. Must be someone who understands. Oh, we won't keep quiet. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I tried. Connie, we love you. I can't wait for you to do something new. And then you come back to touring. If I Rule the World is up also. Thank you so much for everybody at Green15. Thank you. Thank you.